Today I am going to go into the legend of the Titans and explain the possible translation of the beginning of the universe into an astrological event that they had recorded. Once again, there is an air of mystery here pertaining to how an ancient civilization that goes back as far as possibly 2500 BC, and how they could know of such things that we only just recently have become capable of confirming its existence, but nevertheless they do have a pretty clear description of this object that correlates to even my accounts of what I witnessed to transpire in that era of existence. The Titan account of the origin of the universe begins with the primordial void that they refer to as the primordial darkness. That in the time before the physical universe there was nothing but darkness, and in the darkness was the presence of chaos. Chaos was a being without shape, without form, and from him he had 7 children: Nyx, Uranus, Gaia, Tartarus, Eros, Styx, and Oceanus. These were the primordial gods of the Titans, celestial beings of the heavens. These 7 beings rose up against chaos one day because they were tired of existing within him. Uranus rose up and defied chaos by creating the universe. The physical universe was a concept that relied upon order and balance, and chaos was a being who was of no physical form or order, and so thus he could not exist within the universe, and negating his power within the physical universe.
You have no power. Servant of mortal. You are made. Cover the blood.
You know agonate, popping on the lowest of the beacon of truth. Back on the loose with nothing to lose and much to gain. Bind together deep in your veins, spread out the open artery in the bloodstream we remain. It better show that know the bullshit that's just but it is quite irrelevant. Right trying to tell the force are celibate, and it all depends on who's telling it. Born again Christians, I don't miss shit. Time to bear witness, notice sickness, infecting the business, cause of conditions, pray for forgiveness, pay on the business. My vision been red, can't repent. I'm a grown man now, my mind in the blood. Mama said I done lost my sense. Everywhere that I'm at, all I hear in my head is a beat of a heart. I gotta make it quick, so I got me a knife and I stab a fool dead. It's just another life, and to me it ain't shit. Couple of minutes of peace, finally put all of this bullshit behind me. I wish it was just that simple, but it ain't. Sit still, just a struggle, though, rocking this pain. And fuck what you said, and fuck what you heard, and fuck apologies, too little, too late. So I take my fucking head to this, put your fucking head and watch your blood through where you learn. Notice we'll explode this. And then corrode this, the souls from beyond the sun are the ones who forebode this, as was told to who done the lost son of osmosis. So plant your seeds in that dirty mud, cause hell's be the grossest. So don't be scared to water them with blood, the stems will grow fast. The great knowledge of the future comes from knowing your past. The 5 petals of the pot come from the God you trust. Isn't it odd, this is forever dark? Loader.
Chaos cannot exist within order, and this concept banished chaos from existence into the primordial void of non-existence, forever exiled into the limitless void. Uranus then decided to come down and exist within his creation along with the primordial gods and took on their celestial roles to play out their place and position within the universe free of Chaos's control and fury. Then there was a conflict that arose between the primordials, a division in the heavens. Nyx was always closest to their father, for she was the primordial god of the night and ruler of darkness. She also did not agree with the banishment of chaos, and so she often was a harbinger of his will that sought to envelop the universe in an eternal state of darkness, thus ushering in the path towards chaos being able to enter existence. Her sister, Styx, opposed the concept of creation, for it gave way to the formation of life, and she was the primordial god of the ethereal winds whose rivers flowed into the realm of the dead. She opposed both creation and life, but was dependent upon both to maintain her realm of existence, for without life there could be no death, making her realm unnecessary and non-existent. She was accompanied by her brother Tartarus, who was the primordial god of the underworld, and was dependent as well upon the living realm of existence, for they created a balance that made his realm possible. All three of them, however, were more towards their father's return, for they saw their place in creation as a suppression of their being and a confinement of their essence more so than anything else. Behind Uranus stood Gaia, who was the mother of the living waters, and all-mother to all living beings. Her domain was the earth, and within it she dwelled, bearing forth all manner of living creatures, great and small. Then there was the primordial god Eros, who was the god of eternity, and brought forth the celestial heavens within the sky. From him formed the stars and galaxies that light the night sky above us. The celestial god, who later became attributed to the Christian accounts of the Creator, or God, and the Egyptian being known as Geb. Following alongside him was the being known as Oceanus, who was the bearer of the life-giving waters to Gaia, and did provide the divine manna, the fruits of life by which it could grow and flourish. For all life is maintained by the blessings of the revitalizing waters. These beings, however, became conflicted by their roles in creation, and soon they began to make war against each other that forged the very aspects of creation. A plan set in motion by Uranus.
Time before the Titans, before the gods of Olympus, a great battle was waged. The wrath of the primordials. The very beings who forged the earth, raged out of control for an eternity. And from this rage, this madness of war, the Furies were brought forth. Neither Titan nor god, mortal nor shade, the Furies were bound to no one.
Once creation had come into being, and chaos was banished into the primordial void, Uranus ate his siblings to squelch the conflict in the heavens, except for those who stood by him and exalted him as the king of the universe. Styx and Tartarus were devoured, and their celestial bodies did fall and lay the path to their dominions. Styx became the river which led into the underworld, and Tartarus's celestial body fell and became the realm of the underworld itself. Nyx, however, escaped the fate of her siblings and receded into the night, taking refuge within the darkness. To keep his siblings under control, Uranus went to Gaia and left her with no choice but to have children with him to maintain the balance within creation by using their children to maintain the balance of order that contained the primordial fallen ones.
So fearful was Kronos of the oracle's prediction that his own children would rise against him, that he decided to imprison them all in his belly. Rhea stood by and watched as her children were devoured one by one. But when the time came for the last of her children to be eaten, she was unable to bear another such loss, and devised a trick to save the baby Zeus. Rhea commanded the eagle to secret her son away. He was taken to an island far beyond the watchful eyes of Kronos. It was I who cared for him. It was I who kept him safe.
From Uranus and Gaia the Titans were born but bound to the design of Uranus's creation and thus consumed within him. Eventually Gaia became tired of Uranus and the fate of her siblings and children, and she nurtured the seed of rebellion within one of their children, Kronos.
I nurtured his desire to free his brothers and sisters from Kronos. But my foolish act of compassion would haunt the Titans forever. For in sparing Zeus, we allowed him to return to us with vengeance in his heart. He betrayed all of the Titans for the sins of just one. The sins of his father, Kronos.
She led Kronos to the island where his brother, the hundred-handed Hecatoncheires, was exiled to on the Isle of Man with the other giants who were byproducts of the War of the Primordials. It was here he learned of his hidden siblings that had been born from the god Nyx, the sisters of the Fates. He also discovered his sister Circe and her children the Sirens. The giants, however, were not only strong but also skilled craftsmen, and they forged a weapon for Kronos that could defeat Uranus, a hook-bladed spear known as a scythe.
Since the end of the Great War, bloodlust and power raged within Zeus. His desire to rule over mortals was intolerable to us. The war between the Titans and the Olympians formed the landscape of the mortal world. It was a war that we knew the Titans must win. If we lost, it would mean an end to the golden age of the Titan rule. Peace and prosperity for mankind would be no more. The battle continued despite my capture. Then Zeus created a powerful weapon, to end the Great War. A weapon forged from the heavens and the earth. The Blade of Olympus.
I banish you to the darkest pits of Tartarus!
Together Kronos and his newfound siblings rose up against Uranus, and with a quick and precise strike Kronos cut off the Gentiles of Uranus that fell into the ocean. Mixing within the waters of Oceanus, the last child of Uranus walked forth from its waters, Aphrodite, the goddess of love, so it seemed, but there was more to Aphrodite than was revealed here. For Aphrodite was a child born from the aspects of chaos through warfare, and her dazzling beauty hid a dark secret that came to be known as the Scourge of the Gods. Her true form and identity was that of the Titan known as Typhon. Aphrodite was only an aspect of Typhon's true form. She was the heart of the Typhon, and so thus she was gifted with her stunning beauty to protect the heart of Typhon. Kronos freed his brothers and sisters with the defeat of Uranus, but Uranus cursed Kronos to fall to the same fate that he had brought upon Uranus, and so the curse of the gods was set into place and silently enforced by the last child of Uranus, Aphrodite.
It all began when Zeus triumphed over the Titans in the Great War. Zeus understood that the evils born from that battle, if left free, would destroy the world of man and gods. To contain these evils, Zeus commissioned Hephaestus to build a vessel strong enough to hold them. Fear, greed, hate. He locked them all away in the box in hopes that they would never again infect his reign. When Zeus gathered all the evils and placed them in the box, I dreaded what would happen if it was opened again. And so, I summoned the most powerful weapon in the world, and I placed it in the box.
This last part about Aphrodite was my own added discovery after examining the events that unfolded during the Middle Ages and the Church's battle against the forces of darkness at that time. Forces that were born forth from a fleeing goddess who had attempted to orchestrate the death of Zeus through Hera, who was banished into the underworld far to the north and was buried under the title as Hel, the sister of Thor. After learning of Aphrodite's secret betrayal, the remaining gods chased after her into the early British countryside, where she secretly had a child with King Henry, Matilda, before having to escape being discovered by her suspicious husband. From there her trail is scattered across the Church's records of battling the unholy forces of Typhon unknowingly at that time, and the Greek gods transitioned to become her opposition as the patrons of the angelic guardians of the Church, Michael, and the others whom they called upon to battle against the forces of darkness in that era.
Of Sparta!
Enough, Kratos! With every city you destroy, the wrath of Olympus grows. Soon I will no longer be able to protect you.
I need no protection.
Do not forget that it was I who made you a god, Ghost of Sparta. Do not turn your back on me.
I owe you nothing.
Then you leave me no choice.
I see now that I failed in my original goal I had set out to accomplish here. Damn it. My goal here was to show the possibility of the identity of chaos to be that of a black hole from the primordial era of the expansion age of the universe.
Kratos had turned the pain of his memories into hatred. Hatred for the gods, who had refused to free him from the nightmares of his past deeds.
A black hole that was sent into the primordial void beyond existence and has lingered there all this time, until a time when a method could be designed on how to destroy such an object, as my heavenly memories recall and pertains to my reason for being sent back into the living in order to discover this method. Now that method has been discovered, I am noticing that suddenly that purpose is being hidden away with this alternative storyline, but I have always noticed that whenever the Titans have spoken of this subject of chaos, it was the primordials who spoke of it as though they were speaking in fear of the return of a stellar object that fits the role of that of a black hole.
Do you need more proof than this?
Placing all of his godly power into the weapon had rendered Kratos mortal, vulnerable to the arms of death. Bloodied and beaten, he knew that to have any hope of survival, he must retrieve the blade of Olympus.
I should try to commune with maybe Nyx to see if this is true, and it could be possible that her father was cast into the void to be consumed by this black hole. Considering I am a being born forth from the events of chaos, and thus I am a being of a destructive force by nature, I do feel the will of chaos pulling at my mind and whispering for my help in this subject.